Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the College Park Sandy Spring, Maryland Alumni Chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi's Virtual Town Hall. This evening, we will be discussing diet and nutrition, and I have the privilege to introduce to you all Dr. Shameen Castor, and she is an associate professor in the Department of Nutritional Sciences at the College of Nursing and Allied Health Sciences at Howard University. She's got quite an extensive bio, but I'm going to have her jump right into the information that we're going to be discussing this evening. And let us just show some appreciation. You can either use the reaction buttons just to give her a round of applause or wave your hands or a great big smile. Anything you choose will be in order at this point. And we will have some poll questions at some point during the presentation. But for now, just sit back, keep an open mind, and we're going to turn it over to Shameen. Thank you again. Shameen, it's all you.
All right. Thank you so much. I appreciate the invitation. I just want to say I'm a sweetheart. I'm a Kappa sweetheart. So technically I'm family. So so hopefully that counts for.
We all family here. So
yes. Oh, wait a minute. Why is this not working?
It's all good.
Why is my PowerPoints that I worked on is not working? Wait a minute.
That's all right. Take your time.
Okay. All right. So I'm not sure why it's not working, but I have a backup system here. Can I email it to you real quick?
Sure.
Yeah. Always have a backup.
There you go. So I have my email open.
Yes, so I'm going to do it right now. But what I like to do though, while we're trying to navigate this, if I could just, we could start the poll just so I could get an idea.
Okay.
Yep.
So we have several poll questions. I'm launching the poll right now. Can everybody see it?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we can see it.
Yes.
Answer the question, and then I'm going to end this one and start another one. We just want to get a sense of what everybody thinks about the options that you see. And the question is, if you have an A1C of 10, what does it mean? That's the question. Okay, so we've got almost everyone has voted. All right, so it looks like we've got answers across the board. Let's see, most of the answers, most people say high glucose. Second is uncontrolled diabetes and high cholesterol. That's pretty much how the answers are coming in.
Oh my goodness, thank God nobody says nothing.
No, that's
right. Oh, wow. So let me tell you, we're going to talk to you about A1Cs. A1C means that you have a hemoglobin A1C of 10, meaning that your blood glucose is uncontrollable for at least for the last 90 days. But the most important time frame is the last 30 days. So that means that we need to really work really hard to bring those numbers down so that way we could prevent other chronic health conditions. So I emailed you my slides so we could get started.
Yep, we got about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm downloading it now.
Oh, fantastic. So basically, what does that mean? So the name is Diet Nutrition, and I have your health matters to Kappas, which mean that if your health didn't matter, we wouldn't be having this forum right here today. So, and the reason we think that is critical that we look at your health is because that there are certain things that we could actually totally address and we could take control of. So for example, our agenda today is we're going to look at chronic health conditions, diabetes, heart disease, kidney failure, obesity, and then we're going to look at METs, and we're going to talk about those risk factors, and we're going to look at lifestyle behavior, dietary behavior, sleep patterns, physical activity, smoking, alcohol. All these are factors that impact health. And then we're going to talk about malnutrition, You're probably wondering, why is malnutrition is part of the agenda? The definition of malnutrition is either overnutrition or undernutrition. So then when I say to somebody, oh, you're at risk for malnutrition, typically they'll be offended thinking that I'm talking about, because they have a different perspective of malnutrition is, thinking that I'm talking about, children that are emaciated. But I'm talking about either being overnutrition or undernutrition. When you have high cholesterol, that's malnutrition because it's part of the inflammation process. When you have high blood sugar, inflammation, that's malnutrition. That means there's a condition within your body that is not operating efficiently. So which means that you are experiencing malnutrition. All right, I'm not sure if you have my slides up.
Not yet. Give me maybe 45 seconds.
Okay. So while we are waiting for the slides up, we could talk about why is health important? Why is nutrition important? So you go to your doctor and your doctor said that I need you to take better care of yourself. I need you to get healthy. Why don't you go ahead and make sure you have adequate, they'll say this like this, make sure you have adequate fruits and vegetables, and that's the extent of their nutritional education for you. But if you think about nutrition, let's think about nutrition as medicine, right? Consider the fact that you go to the doctor, your doctor will give you a prescription for metformin or hydrochlorothiazide or Corid, those are medication. You have no problem taking them. You may even look at some of the side effects, but you're not really questioning them. But if we take that same due diligence to question some of the medication, even just about 1 to 2%, we really should consider and question our nutrition, right? Think about what we're eating. Think about the fact that 900 new foods are developed per month, 900. So that means that why are they creating all these new foods, right? They're considering your taste bud. They're considering your sense of your senses, all that they are considering and developing food, but you're not thinking about the consequence of this new foods. And think about, does the fact that you eat all vegan diet mean that you're eating healthy? So what does that look like? So good nutrition is essential for your health. Just like some of the medication are essential to improving your symptoms, so are good nutrition. And I'm not anti-medication, but what I am anti is highly processed food, and the fact that if we consider food as medicine, we'll be able to look at and change the way that we eat. If you think about how we use food, and I know that I've done this, that if I change your diet, I could reverse some of those symptoms, like the high cholesterol, like the overweight. We could reverse some of these symptoms, but we seem to have accepted them because what? Everybody's okay with having high blood sugar. I was doing a research on diabetes, pre-diabetes and diabetes, and the lady said, oh, I just have high sugar. She's okay with it. She said, my mother had it. My grandmother had it. So does that mean that you should have it? And I have to tell you, as I'm sitting with here, my father died of cardiovascular conditions. My mother has diabetes. But if I'm going to have any title behind my name, let it not be diabetes, hypertension. So that means that there are certain things that we could do to change or to mitigate those conditions. And then you have to look at your eating pattern. You have to look at what you're eating. And I'm not saying not to have the cookies. I'm not saying not to have ice cream, but there's such a thing called moderation. And then we could honestly change those conditions by changing our diet, right? So let's think about, for example, you wake up this morning, you said, I just want a donut and coffee. Is that breakfast? You spent 7 hours sleeping. Your body was working all that time to help sustain your other organs. You wake up, you give it donut and coffee. And you say, well, I broke my fast. I had donut and coffee. Or you stop by McDonald's, or you grab something, some biscuit or something, and you stop by some other places. Or maybe you even at home decided to make some eggs and cheese, but not considering that all these things may actually have an impact to your overall health, because sometimes we don't add the fruits and the vegetables. Now, I know people are making comments about expensive eggs. I'm happy they're expensive. We should be eating them in the first place. I'm thinking that will deter individual from eating them, but I know they were like, no, we need our eggs. But let me give you some statistic information and to see where we're coming from. African American have a high rate of diabetes complication, amputation within 5 years, blindness within 10 years, kidney failure. We have 1 out of 5 Black men in the United States have diabetes. Heart disease, Black men, 1 out of 6 have a high risk of cardiovascular conditions compared to white men. Kidney failure, Black or African American are 3 times more likely to have kidney failure. And you know why? The number 1 cause problem is uncontrolled hypertension. Hypertension, if it's not well controlled, will lead you to, it's a causal relationship, meaning stroke, heart attack, and kidney failure. I don't know if you noticed, in the past 10 years, there's been a shift. Instead of fast food, what are we seeing? Instead of churches in every corner, liquor store like we used to see, we're seeing dialysis centers.
Wow.
That means that the number of individual of dialysis centers is increasing. And what I'm seeing is, I still practice as a dietitian. The age used to be, when I started way, like, back in the days as a dietitian, I rarely would see in a nursing home a 40-year-old on dialysis. Now, every 1 out of 3 of my patients are individual are 40 and up, 40 years old on dialysis, because of the fact that when you allow your blood pressure not to be well controlled or reverse the blood pressure, you are putting yourself at risk of kidney failure. And we seem to be okay with that. I have a problem with it, right? We seem to be okay with it because we have accepted abnormality as a new normal. I don't know if I'll tell you a story. I had a 1978 Pontiac that was my first car. The handle broke. So in order for me to open the door to the window, I had to put some sort of little, those metal hangers to wrap it up to help me roll it down, right? In a hot summer, upstate New York, that's what I was doing. I got so used to it, it became part of the norm. We are so used to these health conditions, it's part of the norm. And then we really need to look at changing these things. Now, Brother Paul, can you launch the next poll before I get to the next part of the talk, please?
Yes. All right. So we've got 3 questions in this poll. This first one talks about HTN, which I believe is high blood pressure, HLD is high cholesterol, BMI is your body mass index, and if it's greater than 26, what do these 3 things tell you if all 3 of those conditions exist? High blood pressure, high cholesterol, and a body mass index greater than 26.
All right.
Okay. And then the second question, I see people have already started answering the second question. It's about obesity. And what is it? Is it a disease? Is it a risk factor? Just an indicator? Or does it just mean you're sexy? And the last question is about hypertension. Is that a risk for kidney failure? Is it a risk for heart disease and stroke, or is it all of the above? And it looks like the answers are coming in. I got a few people who may still be working on answering the questions. How about this? If you've answered all 3 questions, just give me a thumbs up or a raised. There you go. Yes, I just want to get a sense. I want everybody to get an opportunity to think about this and answer.
All right. So let me tackle the first one. HTN, LDN, DM, hypertension, hypercholesterol or high lipidemia, BMI, body mass index greater than 26, mean that it's Mets, right? It's not the Mets and the New Jersey Mets. I'm talking about the disease. It means that all 3 of them are working simultaneously, syndrome. And the metabolic syndrome is what these 3 conditions are. Or it could be that you have a high, you have A1C, hemoglobin A1C of 6, So all four of these conditions simultaneously working together within your body. And what is it that you get 2 or 3 medication, 4, 5, 6 medication to help manage them? But I like to propose to you today, all these conditions are reversible. We could reverse this condition because I've seen it, I've done it, I've worked with patients that we have done it. Now, the question, and that was a trick question. I do this to my students all the time. Obesity is what? A disease, risk factor, or an indicator. Obesity is a disease. In 2000, they're classified as a disease because of the fact that obesity is an inflammation that could lead to all kind of health-related conditions, from diabetes to heart failure to kidney failure. So it is a disease. So that was like a little tricky, and I do that a little. I do that a lot with my students. So I need you to know the fact. The next question was, and I can't see it on my poll. So what a poll was.
Hypertension, is it a risk for kidney failure, heart diseases, and stroke, or all of the above?
What did we get?
So we got 81% said all of the above, 19% said heart disease and stroke.
Yes, it's all the above. Hypertension is the one has #1 causes for heart failure, kidney failure, as well as stroke. So that means that you mean to tell me, yes, I could honestly tell you we could change these conditions if we actually change the way we eat. Now, change, is hard. It's not easy. It's not easy and said than done, but we could actually change those health conditions and improve our overall health. Now, when you look at metabolic syndromes, we're looking at those 3 conditions, 2 or 3 or more conditions simultaneously, like a large waistline. For men, 40 inches. For high lipidemia, so look at your cholesterol. Look at your, whether it's a good cholesterol or bad cholesterol, check them out. Make sure, or your blood sugar, is it higher than 100 milligram per deciliter? Look at those numbers. Don't let your doctor simply say, oh, here are your condition, here's more medication. Ask questions. And so I'll give you another example. I have a really good friend, and he went to the doctor. The doctor said, oh, you are borderline hypertensive, but I see that your kidney function is compromising. So he's like, okay, like nonchalant, and he has also high cholesterol. Nonchalant, he said, okay, just kind of let it go. We are having a conversation, and he mentioned them to me. I said, well, can I see those numbers? He was like, well, I said, I just want to see the numbers. I'm looking at the numbers. He's classified as kidney failure level 1. I'm saying, wait a minute, you just accepted this, like just like that? I'm gonna need you to call your doctor and have some conversation. Here are some of the questions. So you have to ask questions about your health because there's consequences to those questions, and those consequences could lead to other health conditions. Now, I'm sure most of us don't want to use our retirement fund to pay for healthcare. We would like to use it to travel, do different things, or donate to the Kappa Foundation scholarship, or donate to the different activities, or save it for my son when he become a Kappa, or go to college, one of those things. But in any case, just look at the consequences of our health, our diet, and see how we could actually change those conditions. And I mentioned earlier in the beginning of the talk, malnutrition. What malnutrition is? Malnutrition is either overnutrition or undernutrition. And undernutrition or overnutrition is not something for us to be happy about. We need to make sure that we have balance. So what does that mean? It means that we have to look at our diet. What was your diet like this morning? And yesterday was MLK Day. Was that mean that it was barbecue day, meaning that you eat more than you should? But let's look at what our diet look like. Let's look like what the kind of food that we are eating. If I was to do a quick meal review right now, I could take a look at it and say, okay, there's some area of change. We are what we eat, right? If we are what we eat, that means that we need to make some adjustment because some of the things that we're eating may not necessarily be healthy for us. So let's look at the food, grains or fruits or protein or vegetable or dairy. Now, actually, it is my professional opinion that nobody should be consuming any kind of dairy products. And the reason I'm saying that is because a lot of the processed dairy product or high, like the cheese, one of the #1 items that tend to be consumed is the cheese because it is highly processed with sodium. But it's also a dairy product made out of cow milk, which a lot of us shouldn't be consuming anyway. It's processed. Once it's processed, that we are increasing our salt content. Now, you know that a lot of African American, or a lot of because of the are source sensitive, and because we have the genetic trauma of slavery, we have that soft sensitivity going on, and then we need to monitor our salt. And we could actually change our taste bud. It'll take about 3 to 21 days, but we all could actually change it to actually help change our overall health. Now let's think about fruits and vegetables, for example. How many per day is in your plate, and what does your plate look like? Now, if you look at your plate, a plate of your plate should look like half of it should be vegetables, half of it. Then 1/4 of it, the other part should be like, you know, some starch, like a baked potatoes, baked sweet potato, baked, I didn't say fried. And yes, they list French fried as a vegetable. But if you see the consequence of listing, it was some great lobbying to get vegetable to be listed as a vegetable and be counted as such, while it is, but it's a starchy vegetable that actually has some implication, because people think that I'm taking those things mean that I'm having my vegetables. But I'm talking about leafy green vegetables. I'm talking about the kale, the spinach, the collard. I'm talking about those that I'm trying to grow, cabbage. And also the way you cook them matters. Just like your health matters to Kappa, the way you cook your vegetable matters. So saute and steam, overcooking them will take away the nutrient, and then thus null and void. But think about the benefit of the vegetables, the high fiber vegetables. High fiber vegetable help to improve your cholesterol, meaning that it attaches itself to the bad low cholesterol, but bad cholesterol, grab it, attach to it, and pull it out. So increasing your fiber in your diet is critical. Now think about your fruit. Your tomatoes are fruit. It's very good to prevent, it has lycopene, prevent prostate cancer. So why are we avoiding that fruit? Yes, tomatoes are fruit because it has a seed. Why we are avoiding the peppers? It has those nutrients in it that's very good for overall health. So consider adding them in your plate. Your plate should be colorful, not just add the tomatoes, add the cucumbers. That's another fruit that is not well utilized. Think about those items that you could add in your plate to help improve your fiber intake. And once you improve your fiber intake, it helps decrease your cholesterol. And the more fruits and vegetables that you eat in your plate, the more you could actually eat more of it and help you to lose weight. As you increase your fiber, it helps decrease your cholesterol and restore your cholesterol to a normal level. Now, I also tell you, cholesterol is produced in the body. So when you eat all those eggs that people are getting excited about, it's going to cause you to increase your level of cholesterol. When you eat all the baked meat, fried meat that people are eating, it increases your level of cholesterol as well because the body is producing it. But if we increase the fiber in our diet, it's going to take some of that, it's going to pull it out, and through our feces is actually going to help improve your overall health. Now let's look at the grain. Also the grain, we want to limit that that process. You know, right? And you know, the processed bread where all the good nutrient has been leached out, right? You don't want anything, it's fortified, great. They add some of the nutrient back in there, but why not have whole grain, whole bread, where the nutrient is not actually being depleted or being removed? The other thing I see that in my research that I'm seeing is that a lot of our brothers, a lot of our Black men are not drinking enough water. Now I know that, well, I have, you know, people say, well, I had tea, I had milk, that's fluid. Yeah, that's great, it is. But you want to make sure that you increase fluid in your body. Now, unless you have some health condition that preclude you from drinking too much water, if you take your weight, let's say you weigh 200 pounds, you take that 200 pounds, you divide it by 2.2. Whatever number you got for that 2.2, you time it by 30. That's how much water you should get. So 200 divided by 2.2 times 30, that's about 727 milliliter fluid. So what you do, you divide it by 237. That's about, oops, I did that math wrong. Okay, hold on. My calculator is not doing its thing. That's about 11 cups of water. You like 11 cups of water? Why would I want to do that? Why not? Think about if it's 11.5 actually, 11.5 cups of water, what you do is it helps improve your urine, because if it's yellow, it's not good. If you are thirsty, you're already in a dehydration stage. And it also helps to improve your bowel. Your GI tract is very important. Help remove some of that excess. So then it's important to make sure that you have ample amount of water. And water has no calorie to it. I'm not talking. And if you don't really enjoy it because you want to have a little taste, here's what you do. You slice some lemon and put that water, or you slice some strawberry, enhance the flavor. You slice some cucumber, you add a little mint. There's some way to enhance the flavor of that, but at the same time, you need adequate water. Now, one of the three things I would like for you to consider this evening, is how much calories are you eating per day? Think about that. How much are you putting in your plate? How much are you eating? And then think about, you want to look at your portion sizes. Now, I know we have snack accident. Snack accident is when you have a snack, you took let's say it's a potato chip, it says 6, you're like, 6 chips? That's one serving? Yes, 160 calories. You're like, well, you know what? I don't know what happened, but I ate the whole bag. If the whole bag had 160 calories for 6, and you have the whole bag, time that by the amount of serving, that's how much calorie you consume. So if you were to take what you're currently eating right now and just remove 500 calories from that, 500 times 7 is 3,500. That's equal to 1 pound. So you may want to cut down the amount of calories, because all that excess calories is going to convert into adipose tissue, what we call fat. And then we wonder how, I don't even understand, how did I gain so much weight? So you want to look at your portion size. How much of it do you really need that much? The American diet is, by the way, is known as SAD, Standard American Diet. You really need, when you go to a restaurant, half of the portion size, because they're giving you 2.5 portion sizes. So you want to take that, cut it in half, save half for lunch, and save that. You'll be like, wait a minute, I'm not complete, I'm not full. You're not supposed to be full to the throat. You're only supposed to be satisfied enough to sustain. And so what you want to do is cut down your portion size, increase fruits and vegetables in your diet, increase your water consumption. Cut down the saturated fat. What are saturated fat? Meat with excess, meat has saturated fat, yeah? Egg has saturated fat in it. Adding all those processed food that we're eating has saturated fat. Not only does it have saturated fat, but it's high in sodium. So you also want to cut the amount of sodium that you're eating. And then you also want to look like, what does your plate look like? Is it adequate? Is it balanced? Do you have enough calorie? Is it nutrient dense? Nutrient dense mean like the apple versus the donut. Apple is nutrient dense. The donut is calorie dense. So look at what is it that, do the comparison. Does it matter to you? Yes, it does. You want to make sure that you have your salad to improve your fiber. You have your beans to improve your fiber intake. You want to make sure you include, and by the way, some of the oatmeal, they've done so much to it. That quick process eating, that's taken away the fiber. Look at the fiber content of the item that you are buying. After a while, you get used to it. But if once you start looking at it, it will help you to be able to know, okay, I'm adding enough fiber. Men, Black men, that's who I'm talking to, you need about 35 grams of fiber in your diet. And women need about 28. So you want to look at how much fiber you're eating. And if you have high cholesterol, if you increase your fiber intake, it will help improve your cholesterol level by removing the bad cholesterol. So that way you could actually improve your cardio system and decrease your risk of METs, because METs increase your risk of those heart conditions, those diabetes, and as well as kidney failure and kidney function. And when you increase fruits and vegetables in your diet, for example, 5-10, increase 5 vegetables and increase about 5 fruits. Just do 10 a day. You feel full. You're not going to feel the need to constantly eat. When you're hungry, you tend to eat more processed food. So you want to eat at a very small portion throughout the day. I even recommend for some individuals 6 small meals. So that actually helped. So what are we talking about? When you look at your plate, when you're looking at your food, what does it look like? You know, get in the habit of using fresh seasoning, right? Fresh seasoning enhance the flavor of your food without having to add a lot of salt, right? So if you could actually take out the salt out of your cupboard, it'll be great, right? Because there's a lot of some of the products have salt, you want to cut that down. And then you want to at least have only 2,000 grams of salt. What does that mean? Look at the content of the information that you're eating to see if that would help. So what else can I share? Look at balance. What does balance mean? Look at your plate. What does it look like? Because by the way, if you have a plate with half of it is vegetable, that's about 200 calories. But if in the other way around, where the plate is nothing but French fried, that's 500 calories. So consider the calories. And what I want you guys to take away from this talk is like the same tenacity you have to look at your medication. Consider food as medicine, because if you consider food as medicine, you start looking at eating whole food, not processed food. For example, you want to eat the apple, not the apple sauce, not the apple pie. And you know, there are days that you may have an apple pie because it's a holiday, but that should be your norm. Increase your intake. And having a banana, if you have high blood pressure, a banana actually helps because of the potassium content. So look at those items, look at your food, eat them whole rather than processed. Because the more whole food that you eat, the more it's going to actually improve those health conditions. It actually will reverse it. We have the capability. I almost want to say, I don't know if you guys remember the Bionic Man, where he said that, Steve, we have that ability to restore her. We could do that. We could reverse those health conditions, improving our overall health. I just aged myself right then and there. And if my students try to guess my age, it's going to impact his grade. So, so think about what you're eating, how you're eating, and think about your plate. Think about breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now think about your sleep pattern. You know, you need about 7.8 hours of sleep, right? 7.8 to 8 hours of sleep. But I'm talking about good sleep. I'm not talking about the sleep where your cell phone, the blue light is stimulating your the retina, or your TV is watching you. I'm talking about sleeping for 7 to 8 hours because it helps to improve your health. As the body is working while you're sleeping, you want to make sure that it actually helps, because what we are seeing in our research, that individual that doesn't have sleep well actually have an increased need to eat sugary items. I'm still looking at the research, but when you wake up at night, think about it. You wake up hungry. What do you go for? You go for the apple? No, honestly, I would like feedback here. Do you go for the apple? Or you just like, I think I'm gonna have a little ice cream. It'll make me feel better. Right?
Nice big cookie.
You go for a nice big cookie, that's right, because your body is like, because you're not sleeping. But think about it. We are looking at what is called night eating syndrome, where an individual will get up, eat late at night, and then in the morning they don't eat. What that means is, and especially for those that are diabetic, it put them at risk of keeping their sugar not well controlled. And if it's not well controlled, it put them at risk of developing kidney failure. Right now, one of my concerns is that I know my mother wake up at night. She's here. She wakes up at night to eat. So what I'm doing is I'm removing all the processed food in the house and leave the fruits and vegetables. I'm leaving like mixed nut packages for her. I'm leaving the apple and I'm leaving the strawberry. That way she wakes up to eat. It's not ice cream. So yes, I have to do some of these things. So think about that. Think about, what does your plate look like in the morning? What does your plate look like for lunch? And what does your plate look like for dinner? Now, if you're a morning person, for me, I'm a morning person. I take my heaviest meal by breakfast and lunch. And then for dinner, it's a little lighter. Because my circadian rhythm is, I'm trying to understand what works best. Now think about it for a second. If you're a morning person, if you one that's going to be up till 7 o'clock, till like 1 o'clock at night, because that's where you get your best thinking. Yes, if you eat a heavy meal by 7 o'clock, you're okay, because your brain is still working and functioning to be able to do it. But for me, by 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, I'm no good. Dion will tell you, 9:30, don't call me because I'm getting ready to go to sleep. But that means I'm not eating my heaviest meal at in the evening, because I know that I'm going to be in bed by 9:30. I'm religious with that. So you have to think about your sleep pattern. How does your sleep pattern in fact impact your overall health? And it's critical that you make sure you have adequate amount of sleep. In America, over 70 million individuals are having sleep problems. They're doing 4 to 5 hours of sleep, which all the further exacerbate the health problem. Smoking. If you're a smoker in here, find a doctor to help you get off of it, because smoking is another one of those conditions that put you at risk. Alcohol drinking also impact the kidney. So why participate in this? Now, right now, I'm looking to create what is called the quadruple threats, meaning that if I look at smoking, alcohol consumption, poor diet habit, and sleep, which one have the greatest risk to put you at risk for developing health condition? And if I'm able to control, improve, like let's say your alcohol consumption and smoking, if I'm able to improve these two conditions, does that shift your health conditions? So you have to consider those factors and ways to help improve. No. Now, what happened if you're the type of person that go out to eat in a restaurant? Number one, the average American spend about $25,000 a year eating out. You're like, $25,000 a year? Dr. Castle, you're making that up. Not. I'll send you the literature. So that means that's $25,000. You could have just, again, put that in the CAPA Foundation for scholarship. So if you're eating out on a regular, it's Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Now you could do this. If you go out to a restaurant, cut the meal in half. Cut the meal in half, unless it's a salad with baked salmon on it, or a scoop of tuna, or baked chicken, then you're fine. But if it's a large meal, like for example, at the Cheesecake Factory, they give you 2.5 servings. Cut it in half, save for lunch, and then save it or eat that. Cut down your portion sizes. That actually help you to improve your overall health.
Dr. Castor?
Yes.
What I'd like to do is save some time for some questions, because I've seen some questions coming into the chat, and I'm sure that brothers would like to have a minute of your time.
Absolutely. I will. I have 2 more slides and I'm done.
Okay.
All right. So then those are some other things for you to consider. Think about the use of functional food. Functional food is function, right? So just think about that. Now I have a story for you. You know, you could take Coca-Cola and pour it into somebody's car and mess up their paint. If you ever want to get back at somebody, this is tape recorded. Don't do this. If you ever want to get back somebody, take a Coca-Cola and pour it into their car and eat up the chip of the paint. Now think about it. If something like that could eat up the chip of a paint, why would you drink it? Everybody should actually ban Coca-Cola. That shouldn't even be part of their diet. But consider using whole food, fresh fruits and vegetables, drinking water, and adding some of the sexy herbs that I'm trying to grow later on in my farm. Ginger, rosemary, basil, thyme, garlic, onion. Add those things in your meals and consider cutting out the processed food so you could cut out your salt intake. And then stress, manage your stress. How do you manage your stress? Don't answer your phone. No, I'm kidding. How do you manage your stress? Make sure you have good sleep, have good relationship with people. That way, if somebody that stress you call you, don't pick up the phone. But at the same time, think about that. Manage your stress. Stress is one of the factors that impact Black men's health as well. How do you do that? Meditation, stretching, massages. Don't watch all the news all the time. I know you want to, but all of that impacted stress. There's a recent study that came out where doing a lot of the riots and survey and doing number 45, the level of medication giving to hypertension in Black men tripled. So that if that tripled, we already at 1 out of what? 1 out of 5, 1 out of 6, and now it tripled, partly because we are internalizing that stress, and that's going to impact our health. Look at your environment. Are you working with toxic individuals? There's nothing wrong with creating boundaries. We don't have to be everybody's friends. You guys have enough friends. You have a CAPA chapter to connect with. That's friends. You don't have to deal with the other stuff that's going to impact your health. Make sure you get your physical on a regular basis. Check your physical, check your health. Pay attention to your body and to your health, and exercise. Oh my goodness, exercise. Go hiking. This weekend, yesterday, I hiked 7 miles. I'm feeling it a little bit because I haven't done it in a while. Go hiking. Find somebody to go walking with, right? walking at least at your heart, a moderate heart pace, 3 miles, make it work. Exercise very could try like 30 minutes for 150 minutes per week. My students is here. He's gonna give you a little bit more information about physical activities because that's what he does. So I'm gonna give him a few more minutes to do that, and then we'll have some questions. Lawrence?
And introduce yourself before you start, Lawrence.
Yes, and I'm gonna share my screen as well in 1 second, but good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lawrence Turner. Fun fact before we even get started, when I was getting out of high school, when I graduated from high school and I was trying to figure out what college I wanted to go to, I was very confused. And my uncle, who actually plays Kappa Alpha Psi, said, "Hey, we need you to come to Lamar University and come there." So he was a big reason why I even got into college, pursued nutrition, and am where I am today. So I'm very grateful for that in general. So I want to share my screen today. I want to talk about physical activity and how it can help in the prevention in chronic disease. And before I get started, I just want to make sure, can everyone see my current slide?
Yes.
All right, so my name is Lawrence Turner. I am from Houston, Texas. My bachelor's degree is in nutrition, my master's is in kinesiology, and hopefully soon I'll be having this doctorate in nutrition as well. I am a certified strength and conditioning specialist, so I actually worked as a strength and conditioning coach for the staff at Texas Southern University, the University of Houston, Rice, a lot of schools in Texas, and now I'm out in DC and Howard pursuing that. So just want to take some time out of our day just to talk a couple minutes about physical activity's impact on chronic disease, physical health, physique, and overall health as well. So a couple quick learning outcomes is that we're going to talk about the benefits of physical activity on chronic disease. We're going to dissect how physical activity impacts physique, which is how we physically look. We're going to understand physical activity's impact on multiple forms of health. So that includes physical health, emotional health, spiritual health. We're going to talk about how if we increase the knowledge on different forms of exercise and their function, how we can use that in our daily lifestyle to prevent chronic disease. We'll understand potential risks that come with exercising because a lot of times we get overzealous and we typically say, "Oh, I heard this really cool presentation. I want to start exercising now." We're going to talk about why we should just be cautious and talk to certain specialists to prevent injuries. And then we're going to develop some strategies for working/busy people to incorporate more physical activity into a busy lifestyle. So a quick little introduction about physical activity. So the proportion of Black people participating in physical activities is reported to be less than 25%. Yet physical activity is one of the lifestyle behavior interventions that are effective in reducing of chronic disease. So studies report that over 31% of Black adults in the United States are inactive, meaning not participating in physical activity beyond their daily living. We are not getting enough physical activity, which comes with high health and financial costs. And when we say that, we mean that as in when you're not getting enough physical activity, we might see the healthcare cost of it later from paying for medications or other things as well. So the type of physical activity that a person participates in will directly correlate with their outward physique, and regular physical activity is associated with increased mental well-being. So physical activity is a word that's often just loosely thrown around, but I kind of want to specifically define what it is from a literature perspective. So physical activity is any bodily movement produced by skeletal muscles that require energy expenditure. And when we talk about skeletal muscles, those are typically the muscles that you can physically see. So for example, if you flex your arm, that's your skeletal muscle, whereas your cardiac muscles is something we can't see, which is around your heart. So physical activity refers to all movement, including during leisure time, for transport to get to and from places, or as part of a person's work. So again, just walking to the restroom is a part of physical activity. Granted, that's our daily living physical activity versus the actual physical activity we need to be doing to prevent chronic disease. All right, so chronic disease is also another term that we also see kind of loosely thrown around, but I want to define that as well so we have kind of a general idea when I talk about it, what we're speaking of. So chronic disease is a term that's used to define the disease that lasts 1 year or more and require ongoing medical attention or limit activities of daily living or both. So some common chronic diseases that we're all kind of familiar with includes heart disease, cancer, chronic lung disease, stroke, Alzheimer's, diabetes. And again, there's other chronic disease as well. But again, to classify it, it's just a disease that lasts 1 year or more and requires ongoing medical attention. As of 2020, 9 of the top 10 deaths in America are caused by chronic disease. And physical activity can reduce the risk of multiple chronic diseases. All right, so how does physical activity reduce the risk of chronic disease? So one, energy expenditure. So in general, anytime we're doing physical activity, we're expending some sort of energy. So when we expend energy, we're reducing our risk of having obesity or being obese. It also increases insulin sensitivity. And when we do that, it helps to manage and can prevent diabetes. It lowers blood cholesterol, which decreases the risk of cardiovascular disease. And it also reduces blood pressure, which protects arteries and increases flow of blood and oxygen to heart. So physical activity impact on physical health. So we're going to talk about how it affects our physical health and our mental health. But first, I want to talk about the physical health aspect. So from a physical perspective, again, we can reduce and manage our weight through energy expenditure. We can strengthen our bones and muscles through strength training. We can improve cardiovascular health. We can determine physical appearance through hypertrophy training, which I'll explain further about what that is a little further in the presentation. We can reduce our risk of fall through balance and core training. We can influence flexibility, mobility, and range of motion, which increases life longevity. We can reduce our rate of sarcopenia. And I'm not sure if anybody is familiar with that word, but sarcopenia means age-associated muscle loss. So naturally, over time, we will lose muscle just due to age. But by improving and increasing our physical activity levels, we can decrease the rate of how fast we lose muscle with age. We can prevent some bone disease, we can prevent injury, and we can increase life longevity. So these are some positive impacts physical activity can have on our physical health. So physical activity can also impact our mental health. So it has preventative effects on depression. It potentially reduces anxiety disorders. It can improve quality of sleep. It can affect our self-esteem, and it has a positive impact on cognitive function. So specifically, let's talk about how physical activity improves our mental health. So improvements of mental health are proposed to be caused by exercise-induced increase in blood circulation to the brain and by an influence on the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, which is also called the HPA axis. Now, the HPA axis communicates with several regions of the brain, such as the limbic system, the amygdala, and the hippocampus. These regions of the brain control motivation, mood, memory, and response to stress. So in summary, by increasing that blood circulation to the brain and stimulating these hormones and this communication throughout the body, is going to, again, help us with our motivation to do more. It's going to help us improve our mood. It's going to help with our memory. And again, it also responds to our stress. It helps us with those levels as well. So how much physical activity is needed? Well, it depends. Depends on your specific goals. For some people, they just need general health. Well, there's a number for that. Some people have specific physique goals, as in, oh, I want to get my arms bigger, or I want to lose fat off my body. Other people have strength goals. Maybe they want to lift a certain amount of weights. Some people have sport-specific goals, and some people have functional goals. So there's no one right answer, but there are some general rules depending on your specific goal. So let's talk about general health for men aged between 18 to 64. Well, according to the World Health Organization, it advises that men between the ages of 18 to 64 need about 150 to 300 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity weekly. So we can define moderate intensity as in it's a type of exercise where you can kind of feel yourself heart racing a little bit, but you're still able to communicate. So think about jogging or power walking or biking. You can feel your heart racing, but you still have that ability to still communicate. Or you can have 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity aerobic physical activity. Now, this type of exercise is any type of cardiovascular exercise that's not allowing you to talk while you're performing the exercise. So for example, if I'm doing a sprint, Typically, if you're sprinting out as hard as you can, you don't have the ability to talk out loud. So that's more of a vigorous intensity aerobic physical activity. Now, if you want to get a combination of the 150 minutes to 300 minutes of moderate intensity or the 75 to 150 minutes of vigorous intensity, you can combine both as well. As long as you're doing the appropriate amount, that's all that you need for general health for your physical activity to see the benefits that physical activity can have. In addition to that, muscle strengthening activities at moderate or greater intensity that involves all major muscle groups on 2 or more days per week is also advised by the World Health Organization in regards to general health of how much physical activity that we need. Another thing we need to do is limit the time being sedentary. So that just means sitting down. So a lot of times that's sometimes out of our control where we're just sitting down at our jobs all day. But if it's possible to just kind of get some extra restroom breaks, then that would help. But again, you want to be careful sitting down for too long. So let's say someone has a physique goal. So someone says, okay, well, I want to make sure my chest gets bigger or make sure my arms gets bigger. Well, typically, if you have those kind of physical goals, you want to train a certain body part between 2 to 4 times per week with performing exercises between 8 to 12 reps. So when I talk about reps, what I'm saying is if I had, let's say, a bench press, each rep would be each time I performed the exercise. So typically you want to do 8 to 12 reps, 2 to 4 times a week. And the intensity of how much you should be lifting should be about 70% of your 1 rep max. So if I just want to give a quick example of how do I calculate how much I should be lifting to kind of grow muscle in a certain area, let's say my max repetition, which is I can only bench press a weight 1 time and that's the best I can do. Let's say it was 100 pounds. So then to gain muscle in that area, I would need to do 70% of that, which is 70 pounds. And I would do that between 8 to 12 reps. Now, how many sets you should do is dependent upon a few things. And these are confusing. So if anyone has questions after or another time, I can explain this in further detail. But you have things called the maintenance volume, the minimum effective volume, the maximum adaptive volume, and the maximum recoverable volume. So typically what you want to do is this. Let's say we already understand, okay, I know I need to lift 70 pounds for my bench press, right? And I know I need to do it 8 to 12 reps every time I do it. Well, to see some sort of development, you need to do about 10 sets a week. So maybe that includes 3 on Monday, 3 on Wednesday, and 4 on Friday. So that's the minimum you should be doing to gain muscle. Whereas the most you should be doing is between about 20 sets a week. So that means bench pressing maybe 5 sets on Monday, 5 sets on Tuesday, 5 sets on Thursday, and 5 sets on Friday. But you should never do more than that. And you should never do that too many times because you can get injured. Typically, the sweet spot of doing an exercise, how many sets per week, is typically between 12 to 18 sets, which is called the maximum adaptive volume. So typically what that means is you typically want to train your muscles 3 times a week, 4 sets a week with between 8 to 12 repetitions each time. A lot of numbers, and typically that's why you have a specialist break this down for you because it's a lot to think about, but just kind of a general idea for those who are looking for physique goals. This is kind of how you should determine how much physical activity you would do for that.
Okay, Lawrence, can you wrap it up in about 2 minutes so we can get
Yes,
to
sir.
the question and answer period? Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. So just real quickly, the diet alone doesn't improve physique. So a lot of times people think that, oh, I have to have a good diet to have this amazing physique. And yes, your diet does make a big difference, but it's also about the exercises we do as well. So again, we'll see right here on the left side, this guy has a good diet, whereas the guy on the right who has a good physique is because he does the right physical activity. So again, we have functional goals. So if you're looking to prevent injury, then you would do things such as stretching or mobility. You would do stuff to increase your range of motion. If you have sports/exercise specific goals, you can do that as well. You have a certified coach that can do that. It's important to make sure you do things that you can sustain. So no matter what the exercise is, if you can sustain it, you can do it. But typically what happens is people just do stuff to get to a goal and then they can't maintain it and then they end up losing all their results. So always make sure you're warming up anytime you exercise. And typically, you're warmed up when you have a little bit of sweat going. And the type of warm up you want to do is dynamic. So stuff such as leg swings or jumping jacks, or things that are just kind of light intensity. And again, some exercise precautions is just always be careful that you're not doing too much. Contact a certified specialist to help you be able to determine what you should be doing. And for those who are trying to incorporate it further into a busy schedule, you can do things such as walk during your lunch breaks, maybe waking up a little earlier, taking the stairs instead of escalator, parking a little further away. And in summary, adequate physical activity can reduce the risk of chronic disease. Physical activity can improve mental health. Physique is affected by physical activity. Consult a physical activity specialist to maximize benefits of physical activity. And physical activity can be incorporated into daily living in multiple ways for the busy person. Thank you. And if anyone has any questions, I can send them the links to kind of detail more about everything I talked about today.
Fantastic. And thank you all for the presentations. There's a couple of things we want to do. First, I have Dr. Castor's presentation. If you could send your presentation, Lawrence, to her so she can send it to me, I will make sure that it gets in the hands of everyone that's on this Zoom. For those of you all who don't have my email address and you want the presentation, please put your email address in the chat and I will retrieve it and make sure you get a copy of the presentation. Now, for the question and answer period, what I want you to do is to use the reactions. Raise your hand and we will go in the order which the hands are raised. I know there were some questions in the chat and I think some of them were answered, but because the chat has been fluid, if your question wasn't answered, please use the reaction buttons and then we can take your questions in order. Okay, let's see. I don't see any at this point, but I do have a question that I'll ask.
There was a question about what's the negative or positive of vegan diet. So while I subscribe to a whole plant-based vegan diet, I am going to say to limit the processed food, like the processed sausages, because of the fact that they have high sodium content. So I do support it because it actually been found to be effective in changing your health condition, but you want to limit those processed food items.
All right, perfect. Brother Steve Hines, you to come off mute and ask your question.
Good evening, everybody, and thanks to the presenters for all that great information. I didn't necessarily have a question, but I wanted to share a personal situation that I went through my entire life. I started out having high blood pressure in high school, having a lot of headaches, and I dealt with it for a good 40 years before I got to the source. I'm 63 years old now, and I was up to 12 pills a day, and it was still uncontrolled. So I went to an endocrinologist, and they sent me to Johns Hopkins. First of all, they tested my blood to see if I was genetically hypertensive, and that came back negative. What they checked for at Hopkins were my adrenal glands. And what they found in my adrenal glands that I had hyperaldosterone, which is a hormone that is produced by the adrenal glands. And that hormone was sticking to the kidneys, which was causing my high blood pressure to increase. So with that, finding the source, there's one pill that I can take now to control my blood pressure. And in addition to trying to eat healthy and things like that, because that's regular high blood pressure that everybody gets, but I also have this second type of high blood pressure, which is caused by aldosterone being created in my adrenal glands. So I'm on this one medication now. I went from 12 pills a day, and I take one pill now to control this functional high blood pressure that I have. And I share this particularly amongst Black people because we never know and don't really pursue the source of our blood pressure. And I've shared this with my entire family to get your adrenal glands checked.
Thank you.
A lot of time we accept the diagnosis without questioning or without asking. You have to be your advocate. You have to be the one to say, why are we giving me all these medications? Can we, like, for example, we found a lot of studies that metformin doesn't really work for a lot of Black folks, but they are giving it. So you want to look at, you want to ask questions, you want to look at and say, what is the cause? Because a lot of doctors do, it may be this, it may be that. We thinking he made this, we may think he made that. You want to look at the cause. What's the cause? When did it start? What were the symptoms? And be able to get to the bottom of it. I give kudos to you for doing that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I applaud you for saying that, because getting to the cause is the real issue.
All right, Brother Hines, thank you. Lower your hand, and I think Brother Joseph put a message in the chat. I didn't know if you wanted to come off mute and ask that question. It says, Dr. Castor, can you educate us about semaglutide? And I guess it's Ozempic, which is the medication for weight loss.
Yeah. Yeah, so I when I saw it, I went to look at it, to look at some of the symptoms of that particular medication. There's a lot of product out there that they are selling for weight loss. And you find that some of those products may actually work for a short period of time. And again, we have to think about sustainability. And then when you're using those products, are you able to sustain it? What are the side effects to the organ? What are the side effects to the kidney? What are some of the things? So you have to consider those items before taking it. And I could actually tell you, changing your diet to a whole plant-based food diet, you will not need to take medication. Now, the issue is a lot of time, we want to quick and fast in a hurry. But think about it. You did not gain that weight quick, fast, in a hurry. You saw it in the mirror. You said, I'm looking good and sexy. You increase your shirt size. You saw it again the next following year. You said, I'm still looking good and sexy. You didn't look to change it. So think about some of the these medication that they are testing. A lot of time, they didn't do a lot of research to look at the side effect. A lot of time, they're not tested in our population because a lot of our population don't participate in clinical trials. So then you are taking something, you don't know the side effect or how it's going to impact your body. Now, if you guys want, we could do with Levins and I, we could actually put you in a whole plant-based diet, healthy eating, and you see the significant impact of it, and you see that it will improve your overall health. Now, it takes discipline. That same discipline you gave to Kappa for that 8 weeks of educational process you went through when you were pledging, you could use that same discipline to help improve your overall health. Because I know Kappas don't haze, but I know you guys receive a lot of education, and when it started in Indiana, so that means that let's use some of that discipline to get you into healthy eating and healthy physical activities. How much is it for 8 weeks? So let's do this. I'll give you my plan, but what you're gonna do is half of that will go toward the Kappa scholarship fund program. How about that? We could make it where it's an opportunity to help improve my way of donating back to well, can we give it to Kappa Mu though? That's the chapter. Anyway, so that's my way of giving back by putting a plan for you to be able to improve your health, and you just use that toward the Kappa scholarship funds. And can I get into some of the free activities where I don't have to pay? Can we make that deal too?
That's another committee, Dr. Castor. I appreciate your exuberance, but I got to put it out there. I got to fully disclose. That's another committee. I might not have anything to say about that.
All right. I try.
Yes, you did.
Sounds like a quid pro quo to me.
No, that's called, there's a word for it in Haiti, right? You help me, we exchange, we bartering services. It's a culture thing.
I got you,
like
Sinead, I got you.
Quid pro quo
All
to
right.
me.
What you said?
Sound like a quid pro quo to me.
That's the
That's what I
American
just
version.
said.
That's the American version.
Well, looks like we have another hand raised. Anthony Berry, come off mute and ask your question or comment.
So what about some of these snacks that you see like in the store? They're high in fiber. You know, they have bars, they have, you know, all kinds of snacks. And the name, I'll give the name Atkins. You know, they make a whole variety of different types of snacks that you could snack on, and low in sugar, but and high in fiber.
Yeah.
What do you think about those types of things like that?
So let me say this. Some of those snacks is okay. Like if you're in a hurry, you need to get something snack, but it can't be something that's done all the time. And so you have to consider whether that's sustainable. Let me also share with you, Atkins, who created this diet, did it to help people have quick weight results so they could go to surgery. Because when you were having surgery, you couldn't be a certain weight. Now, Dr. Atkins actually, because of his diet, he actually fell and broke a hip and died. So because his diet was so much in fat, it impacted the bone, so much in protein that was excess, it impacted his bones and impacted his kidneys. So I say all this to say that, yes, they market that really well, but you could increase your fiber by increasing your vegetable, like pears, your apple with skin, your baked potato with skin, your broccoli with the stern. All that are very high in fiber would actually help you lessen calorie and keep you healthy, because you'll get the other nutrient, the vitamin C from broccoli in it. You'll get, so the sweet potatoes, the skin has vitamin A, which actually would help your overall health. So may I recommend that we use the food rather than we use all those snack bars and stuff.
Yeah, I have a question. So for those of us who have existing medical conditions that preclude the intake of certain, vitamins like vitamin K, is there a way to create a healthy diet that takes into consideration that you might have a condition that won't allow you to eat specific foods, vegetables, that sort of thing?
Oh, absolutely. Now, the issue with vitamin K is if you have to monitor that, you want to make sure you take consistent amount. So when they, for example, for something that's taking warfarin or Coumadin, well, the issue is they tell you to minimize your vitamin K. What they're not telling you is you have to have the same consistent amount. That is why we don't make a big deal of it in a hospital setting, because we are giving you the same, if it's 2 ounces on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's what you do. You don't consume more and then like you fluctuate. So it has to be consistent so we could keep that level, so that way your blood will not thin excessively. So those are some of the things to consider. And yes, for practically every condition, we could create a plan to also keep you healthy while looking at the medication. Now, I know if it's because of medication like diabetes or hypertension, all that stuff, the goal is to get you off some of these medication actually. So then, yeah, we could actually put you on a plan to help minimize that.
Brother Osborne, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, and somebody asked a question about the keto diet. Remember, the keto diet was created to help individuals that have epilepsy, right? So, but then, and somebody taking the keto was for short term. When you're taking it long term, is high in protein and saturated fat. It's going to impact your heart. It's also going to impact your kidneys. So then if you already have blood pressure, it's going to further compromise that. So you want to minimize, you want to stay away from the keto diet. It's a quick weight loss program, but it's not sustainable. Let's talk about sustainability, and that's what you need to be able to help you sustain your health.
All right, Brother Osborne, and then I saw a question from Brother Parker in the chat.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Because some of my screen paused. But Dr. Casa, I appreciate.
Hey, Sean, can you turn your video off? I think that will help with, did he drop? Turn your video off, and then that'll help with your bandwidth issue. Okay, go ahead and ask your question.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Dr. Casa, I appreciate the information that you provided. I think, if I would have heard exactly what you said today, like 7 years ago, I would have thought that you'd have guided me to the path in which I took back then, and that was a complete plant-based diet. I watched this movie called What the Health, and saw all these chickens getting slaughtered and all that good stuff, and went strictly to a plant-based diet. Since then, I've added in fish in my diet, and I always get the question from brothers and everyone in terms of, what type of diet I'm on, and I keep telling them, it's not a diet, it's a decision in terms of health. I eat what I think is healthy for me, but I don't know if it's healthy for you or not.
Mhm.
But one of the things that I think about often, and I take no pills. I don't have any high blood pressure or anything. But I always wonder about vitamins. I don't take any vitamins as well, and I wanted to understand or know, what foods are good for certain types of vitamin, whatever. I don't know if I'm vitamin deficient in D, B, C, or whatever, but at the same time, I've always wondered whether or not I should be, as I get older, whether or not I should be taking any type of supplements on top of, eating healthy and exercising.
Okay. So let me say this, vitamins are necessary, it's important. So when my patients in the hospital have certain health conditions and they're not eating very well, they're eating less than 50% of what I'm giving them, they have a skin problem, I tend to add vitamin C, I tend to add multiple vitamins, and I tend to add iron, zinc for about a month, right? Because they are going through some kind of metabolic situation, they have inflammation, I want to help try to minimize it. And if they're anemic, I add some iron. Now, so unless you have some condition that, because you're eating healthy, if you're eating all the fruits and vegetables, you're going to get all the B vitamins that you need. The vitamin we tend to see that Black folks tend to be deficient is vitamin D, partly because we're not in the sun. We're not getting that sun. Like the darker you are, like for me, as a dark skinned individual, I need about 45 minutes in the sun 3 times a week to be able to get vitamin D, because the vitamin D is synthesized through our skin, which then go to the liver. So then we know you need it, and vitamin D is a hormone. So yes, I could see vitamin D being an issue. Now, unless or vitamin D or calcium, if you are not an athlete before when you were in your 30s, less than 30, then you may need calcium because of the fact that you didn't preserve your peak bone mass. Now, you have to also look at, do you have any health condition that says that you need that? Have you been exercising and lifting weight? Because you actually still improve your bone mass by exercising and lifting weight. That actually would also help you. So unless there's some conditions that you're eating healthy, you're eating all the fruits and vegetables, you're getting you're getting the vitamin D or vitamin C from your fruits, you're getting the collard green, your folic acid, your B1, your B2 from your healthy eating, I don't see any reason, unless you're having joint problems. However, if you're having some joint problems, some vitamin C and vitamin D may actually help. Now, what I would recommend to do if you're going to take vitamins, I'm that person that says do it every other day instead of every day. But for the most part, if you're eating healthy, there's no need for it to add an additional in your system. And besides, all the B vitamins and vitamin C go into your system after the body take what it needs, it flush it out. If you're a smoker, vitamin C helps to help would help you. So you're not a smoker, so then you're good. I don't know if I've answered.
No, I do indulge cigars as well as, I do drink, but everything in moderation though. I mean, it's not like I do it every day, but I do it when we hang out with brothers more often than anything else.
Okay, all right. Let's minimize that as well. All right.
I have another question. I think Brother Parker had a question about vitamins. Was that satisfied, Brother Parker, or did you want to chime in?
Yes, I was. That's what I was wondering just as well. I think Brother Osborne was on the same track as me, just as well. But I'm definitely not on Brother Osborne's track just yet with the workout, the physique. I'm a little fat, so but I'm with him on the vitamin thing. On should we be taking them daily and everything else? And you've answered that, Dr. Castor. Thank you so much. Continue.
Thank you. Yeah, so there's an interesting phenomenon that's happening in Prince George's County, Maryland. And I believe that people are making noise about it. They're trying to change this notion of Prince George's County being a food desert because you can't find healthy options. Every corner, or, whatever the distance is, they got all these terrible fast food options for people who live in Prince George's County. And I'm wondering, particularly in areas like that, how do you go about educating people on the importance of taking the time to actually buy produce and prepare it and eat it. And I mean, I'll be very honest with you, there was a time when on the way from my office to the house, I'd be so hungry, I'd stop the first place I could and just get something just because I was that hungry. And interestingly enough, when I changed my diet, all that hunger basically went away.
Yeah.
Um,
Let me say two things. Prince George's have two problems: food desert a certain part, food swamp at certain part. So I don't know if you ever have drive to, I believe it's Washington Boulevard, like I'm trying to think. So if you take Washington, it's 10-mile radius, take Washington Boulevard all the way into DC, I counted 12 fast food restaurants. That's called food swamp. And within that 10-mile radius of those food swamp, there are 3 schools there. There's an elementary school, there's a high school. So that means that those children are predisposed to those fast food. So then you're gonna see that obesity issue that is called the obesity poverty paradox, where you see the fact that they're eating high calorie food with no nutrient value, so that increase their risk of obesity. At the same time, they're experiencing food desert, because food desert is described as not having a supermarket within 5-mile radius. So that's why there was a big fight with Walmart not wanting to put Walmart not wanting to be in Ward 7 and 8. So then you have to think about the fact that who are the policy makers? Who are the one lobbying to make sure that the supermarkets are in place so we have fruits and vegetables? And on top of it, when we have food farmers market, how do they really have the money? So just so you know, the WIC program gives mothers a WIC voucher for fruits and vegetables, and they don't use it. Partly because it's educational issues. So we are hoping that not only am I trying to go farm to help address some of these things, it's going to take me a little while, but we are hoping to connect with the farmers, with the Black farmers that have similar ideologies I do, to create opportunities to increase the consumption of fruits and vegetables, and to explain it. A couple of years ago, I started this camp called Kids in the Kitchen, where I had a chef to come in to have the cook for the kids, but we were using fresh food, fresh vegetables, get them to taste different fruits, because the kids in the Baltimore that I was working with will only know apples, oranges, and bananas. So then we were trying to expose them, but I ran out of money. In any case, in order for us to really get those areas of food desert, fruits and vegetables, we also got to eliminate those food swamps and also create some educational campaign to really help improve. It's a bigger problem than we take. And if you notice that it's happening in our community. There are 2 hands.
Brother Hines and then Brother Griffith.
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to put a plug in. We were talking about food choices here in Prince George's County. My godson has a mission to give options throughout the county. He's open right now. There are about 4 stores. It's called Fresh Greens, if you've seen that around. He's on track to have about 15 open by the end of the year. So he's trying to change what we consume here in the county and give us healthier choices. And the next thing he's working on is farm to table, as far as bringing fresh vegetables and things like that into the stores.
That's awesome. I actually just got on, joined the board for Future Harvest, because I figured that if they have access to information, the only way I could get access to that information is by joining the board. So I joined the board so that way I could find some information to help, as well as improve nutritional health in our communities. Yes, that's awesome. I believe we have one more.
Brother Griffith. Yeah, Brother Hines, lower your hand.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Dr. Castor, once again, thanks for taking the time and the effort and the information that you're sharing. Similar to Brother Osborne, who's been leading the effort in plant-based, I myself have been more of a smoothie and liquefied fruits, and adding that as in my diet and helping myself in reducing weight and maintaining energy. What is your stance on smoothies, fruit smoothies or vegetable smoothies, and as either a meal replacement or just as nutritional supplements to one's diet?
So I'm okay with smoothies depending on what's in it, right? Because I'm seeing a lot of people doing smoothies, but they're adding all those protein-based powder things in it. So if your smoothies is used like nothing but fresh fruits and vegetables in it, all the best, because that's maybe the only way you could accept it or you could take it. But in terms of meal placement, you want to make sure that you have adequate amount of calories in that. So if it says 16 ounces is giving you like 150 calories and you need 300 for that meal, that means you got to drink 2 of them. But when you do that, make sure you drink lots of water. Here's the reason why. If you're doing spinach, carrots, and kale, high in fiber, that's great. But you want to make sure you have enough water to also help keep your GI tract healthy.
All right, Brother Gladney.
Yeah, my mind went blank. But the latest fad or diet is, what's it called when you don't eat for hours and hours?
Or intermittent fasting.
Yeah, fasting. What's your thoughts on intermittent fasting?
So think about it. What they have done is they have reversed what we do. Let's say you eat throughout the day for 10 hours, 12 hours, and then you technically fasting from 7 to 7. So they have reversed it, and they're saying that to fast, the intermittent fasting, they're doing like 8. So in other words, you could eat anything you want at 8 o'clock, 4 o'clock till 4 o'clock, it's another 8 hours. Think about it. If you stage your meal like at 7, 1, and 5, it's the same thing we're doing. They just name it nicely so that way people could buy into it. I don't believe that you should skip meals, especially for those that are diabetic. Skip meal so you want to lose weight. But if you eat smaller portion, you're going to be able to lose weight. What I do think, though, if you're fasting for religious purposes because you're trying to get closer to the Lord, I'm all for it. But if you're fasting to lose weight, what's going to happen is your brain is going to be like, wait a minute, they're starving me. So I'm going to go ahead and hold on to the fat. Like a pit bull with a bone, they're going to hold it and not let it go. And then what's going to happen is you're going to notice that you're not losing weight. In the beginning, you lose weight and then you plateau and you're seeing that. So my recommendation is, in terms of intermittent fasting, how about we eat with the sun? You eat from the time the sun rises up, especially right now, by 6 o'clock, the 5:25, the sun is down. If you eat in between those time, you tend to give your body time to digest the food, and then you actually stay not overeating. So I don't know if that helped answer you that intermittent fasting.
Yeah, I can't really do it because I'm diabetic, but in my nutrition classes, they always said, if you don't eat, you go into starvation mode. And as you just said, you won't lose weight. So I was just curious why people are losing weight, because nutritionists always tell me when you put your body in starvation mode, it shuts down your metabolism and you don't lose weight. So I was just wondering.
Yeah, you actually don't. You lose weight for the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then after that, your body will plateau. It does go into starvation mode. But for those that are diabetic, you go into ketosis. So you want to make sure that you're not compromising the kidney any more than it already is compromised, simply because you want to lose weight. Now, you want to lose weight, small meals, small portion size throughout the day, adequate water and physical activities. It actually helps to improve your health and nutritional status.
All right, one final question, and then we'll do some closing remarks. How do you feel about soy milk, almond milk as a replacement to dairy, cow's milk? Thank you.
I'm all for almond milk because that's what I use for my son. And I noticed that when he stopped drinking milk, he doesn't have as much phlegm and running nose. So I'm all for it. My only concern for him is that, because regular cow milk, which is a milk for cow, has they added some vitamin D and they add some calcium in it. So, but for him, I just make sure that the one that I'm purchasing has some fortified calcium and vitamin D in it. I'm not going to be the one to tell you I'm for milk. I actually think nobody should drink milk because 75% of the world is lactose intolerance. The reason we don't have that glucose because we weren't meant to drink it. It's for the cow. So I think we should just leave it for the cow to drink.
All right. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
both presentations were amazing. There have been requests for them, and I'd like the opportunity to share them. So Lawrence, make sure you provide that. I can't say enough about the information. I think everybody got something from it. I think we had great engagement from the audience. I hope you learned something from the poll questions, and I hope you took away some nuggets that will allow you to make some changes, even if it's just in the beginning stages of impacting your health for the better. And so with that, if there are no more questions, we'll call it a day. I will.
One more thing. I will send you guys some vegan menus, some different menus to help. Besides Lawrence, I have some menus also that we could send to help you look at. Adding that one vegan meal in your diet will maybe be helpful.
Awesome. Awesome.
Hey, Paul, I have one question. You
Sure.
mentioned, Dr. Castor, you mentioned not eating eggs, but do you condone eating chicken?
I
For
don't eat
protein?
chicken. I don't eat poultry. I don't. Me
Okay.
personally, I don't. Partly because when I used to be the chicken girl at Roy Rogers, and I saw how they did that.
I meant the chicken.
That was a wrap. Now, if you are going to eat chicken, I would advise that you do the organic chicken. They wanna because a lot of the chicken that are being they're putting hormones to use them so they could grow faster. A normal chicken will take 120 days. The American chicken they're using is taking 45 days. I would stay away from it if you're able to. And they use those small little organic chicken. Those are less hormones and better for you. So last question, is vegan during the week and meat 1 to 2 days per week be advisable? So I see what you're doing with trying to be more vegan. The more you improve your vegetable intake, the better. And then when you eat meat, it tends to stay in your GI tract a little longer. So the excess vegetable will help pull it out to remove it into your system. So the more you incorporate that, the better it'll be for you, for your health.
All right. Well, this has been wonderful. I want you all to know that the committee has created a calendar, and we have topics scheduled all throughout the year. So if you haven't sent your email, put your email in the chat. We'll make sure you get notified of it. I did see, well, this is going to be the last question. Brother Wilson, Silver Spring alumni, what about organic eggs?
Organic egg is fine because it's coming from organic chicken. But let me tell you the new trick they're using now. They're using natural eggs, because the thing is, the only time something could be organic is unless it's certified organic. So because people are using natural doesn't mean that it's organic. They may just have given them some corn. So you may want to just make sure that wherever you get your organic egg is a certified place that you're getting it from.
Absolutely. And if there are physicians or scientists that would like to present a topic, put your information in the chat as well, because we're always looking to add to our speakers bureau. So with that, thank you, Lawrence. Thank you, Dr. Castor. We really appreciate your participation, and we look forward to giving you more. So until next time, I believe the next session is February 7th. Is that right? And
Yeah.
we
Can
are-
I, real quick, it'll take 2 minutes.
Okay.
February 7th, mental health. March 14th is prostate health. April 11th is oral health. May 9th is the yearly physical. June 13th is diabetes and autoimmune. July 11th is personal training and health. Dr. Castor, we have you penciled in coming back.
and
August 8th is GI health. September 12th is life-changing events like stroke or heart attack. October 10th is addiction, gambling, and substance abuse. November, Brother Harping, you on here. November 11th, we kind of have you penciled in, spiritual health. And December 12th, going back to mental health, dealing with holiday depression and anxiety. And we will send this out, but that's the calendar for the year.
All right. Thank you again, everybody. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for your indulgence, and I hope everybody got something from this. Good night.
For inviting me.
Good
All right,
night.
thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great.
It's great.
That was
Definitely.
excellent. Excellent.